my faith. I grew in my faith, and I grew in a relationship with Jesus, and he just changed my world. It just total different worldview. It wasn't all about me, it was about him, and I more and more wanted to do things that would please him.
When she came up to me, she says, well, what do you think Jesus wants you to do with your life? And she read me from the Bible. I said, well, Jesus wants me to have a Learjet, and Jesus wants me to have a Bertram yacht, and Jesus wants me to have a pound of grass, and Jesus wants me to have a lot of women, and Jesus wants me to have a house in the Bahamas. And she says, do you really think that's what Jesus wants you to have? I says, yeah, that's what I wanted. But she said, well, Jesus said, take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. And I just knew what that meant. I said, Jesus said that? She says, yes, Jesus said that. And already the word of the God was starting to cut my heart, to open it up for what he wanted. It was completely different from what Jeffrey wanted.
At that time, the devil started to come into my life, and I started to have visions causing me to stay up countless hours into the night. And in these visions, I was doing terrible things to myself, like suicidal things.
To bless you, Jesus in my heart, and simple prayer, right? And then, I think it's 4 people, missionary was with me and talking, praying together, right? And after the prayer, and one, person told me, oh, I got the vision. I said, what's vision? I have no idea what's vision. And then he said, I had a vision, like a beautiful, crystal ball is going to heaven. I said, that's your soul.
It was the first time I consciously, with faith, prayed. I didn't know what to pray, so I just said the Lord's Prayer. I said, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And then I looked up into the sky, and I saw the word Jesus written all over the sky. Now, I don't know how that happened. It was like a vision. I saw Jesus, and I put out my hand, and the next car stopped. And the next car was a Mercedes 600, the fanciest car you could buy in those days. A black car with white leather seats inside. And the driver was a black man with white gloves. And he came and opened the door for us. And he said, please get in. Where are you going? And we said we just wanted to go to the border to Belgium because we were still in Germany. So, and then he put on this heavenly music, this stereo, and I was just like flipped out and said, Jesus is real, Jesus is real.
At the university is when I was sitting at the table having lunch, and then a young man sat down with me. He didn't speak English, he spoke French, and I didn't speak French, but he kept showing me the Bible. Read this, read this, read this. And I had the background in Catholicism, so I knew the Bible. I knew what he was showing me. I understood what he was showing me. And then he prayed with me to receive Jesus as my Savior, and I didn't understand it. I received Jesus as my Savior. That was all I understood. And I didn't know what that meant or anything. He left, and then I left, and I was mulling it over for a couple of days, what that meant, what had I done. And then a few days later, I met somebody else who did speak English, and he was quoting the Bible to me, all different verses, especially Matthew chapter 6. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and the whole chapter. He quoted the whole thing. I guess he had just memorized it, and he quoted the whole chapter to me, and that was just what I needed to hear.
God loved the world, meaning us as human beings, that he brought his son to show us the way, because somewhere along the way we got lost.
So I I worked to put myself through nursing school. And I wanted to do it, and then I wanted to become a stewardess and travel all over the world. I had all these plans. And I knew that if I received Jesus, then I was going to have to serve him. It wasn't going to be just a thing where I would just become a Christian and go back to church or whatever. I knew I was going to have to serve him. In other words, I would have to give up everything that I was doing and everything that I worked so hard for.
You know, it's not about how good you are. You know, anyone can do what's right, and any day. You know, you even if you're going to sin the next day, you can still always do what's right at any given moment. And especially, you know, for people who are believers, you know, I like to tell them how, you know, Jesus wants them no matter what, and Jesus wants them to serve him no matter what. And it's their own selves, and it's the devil really who wants them to think that they can't do something for the Lord because of their sins. But that's just not true at all. And there's no theological basis for that belief. Anyone can go out and do good.
I felt like I was standing in eternity, and the presence of God was right there. And I never experienced that before, and I heard him say, I'm calling you to be a missionary, and if you don't come, I'm going to bring you home early. And I was thinking, you're going to kill me? Well, now, see, that's my own mind. I must be going insane. This can't be true. I got to get back. And I got back to my house, and I got in my car, and I turned on the radio full blast so that God couldn't talk to me anymore.
So I think that if you really are, it says in the Bible, seek and you will find. So if you are seeking, that God will speak to you. He will give you this opportunity. But when it comes, it's like a bus or a train. You got to catch that bus. You have to catch that train and follow that leading, that opportunity.